The reason for the sudden drop in WWE's stock price has been revealed, and are All Elite Wrestling set to introduce a brand new logo? But first, we have an update on the status of the debut episode of AEW Collision and the location that it will take place in. Over recent weeks, several reports have suggested that the show will take place in the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, and would feature the AEW return of a certain CM Punk. However, when the news of AEW's Saturday show became official, there was no mention of the United Center nor Punk in the official press release, with it later emerging that his name was actually removed at the last minute. One reason that seems to have led to this is the uncertain future of Ace Steel in AEW, with Punk originally being under the impression that he would be joining him backstage at Collision, before later being informed that this would not be the case. Either way, it was later reported by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio that a backup plan was in place in case the company were unable to smooth things over, with a move to Daly's place being considered if CM Punk isn't able to appear, as to temper expectations that could ultimately lead to a disappointed Chicago crowd. Well, according to Phil Lindsay on the Grapsody podcast, his sources within AEW have informed him that the story is in fact false, and that Daly's place isn't being considered, and he would say, "Source told us that the Daly's Place story that Dave Meltzer put out there and reported that's being put out there as a backup plan isn't true. That's a source from within the company. They're saying that's fake." Now again, we have a reason to believe why they would set up if you're following all the news stories of the week, then yeah, we have all the reason to believe that they would set up a backup plan. But again, that's not coming from them, that's coming from news outlets. If you think this date on June 17th is in jeopardy, then yeah, it makes sense to believe that they would need a backup. But again, we don't know all the information. This could already be sorted out. We don't know. But it's still very much, to me, United Center will be announced as the first episode. Until we get anything, I'm of the belief that this is still going to be the CM Punk show. It's worth noting that recent AEW hire Will Washington is a former co-host of the Grapsody podcast, and whilst I'm not saying that Will was the source, the show has fans within the company and has done so for a while. Lindsay would then reveal his thoughts on the Wrestling Observer's coverage of CM Punk related news in recent times, pointing out that there is always seemingly a negative story from both Dave Meltzer or Brian Alvarez as soon as a positive one drops from elsewhere, and he would add, "I think you also have to look at the fact that there are certain outlets, Wrestling Observer's one of them. I don't want people to think I'm anti-Observer. I'm not anti-Observer. I like Brian Alvarez a lot. I think Alvarez is funny. I think his reaction to all this stuff is unintentionally funny, because of course it's Alvarez. But you gotta look at the fact that certain outlets have always kind of pushed the idea that CM Punk is not coming back. So it kind of feels like they want to still steer into the idea that he's not. Like, tell me, if you followed Dave Meltzer and Alvarez from the beginning, they've been saying for the longest that he's not coming back. It very clearly seems like he is. Now every time it seems like there's a positive development in that direction, they'll then come out and put something out. Well, look at this. As we've highlighted multiple times since the Ace Steel AEW Collision announcement Switch news dropped, Sean Ross Sapp and Nick Hausman have both reported that the relationship between AEW President Tony Khan and CM Punk is healthy, with there being good communication between the two. We won't know for sure if the first Collision will ultimately take place in Chicago until this Wednesday on Dynamite, where the location will officially be announced, and then we'll know for sure. Next up, we have word on a recent NXT call-up who could be in for a major push. During the recent WWE draft, former NXT North American champion Cameron Grimes would land on the SmackDown brand, a move that has been rumored for a number of months. A fresh report from Fightful Select has provided some insight behind the decision, with several individuals backstage having high hopes for the 14-year veteran, and the report notes, several WWE higher-ups, including Triple H, were said to have been fans of his work and saw potential in him on the main roster. It's worth noting that in addition to higher-ups, several agents and producers also spoke highly of his work, and numerous had experience in working with him in the past. One longtime WWE employee told Fightful that they saw Grimes as a slam dunk, in that he could work any number of styles. Grimes would make his SmackDown in-ring debut on the May 12 episode of the show, defeating Baron Corbin in 7 seconds in the process, this before earning his second Blue Brand win over Ashante Adonis this past Friday night. And next up, New Japan Pro-Wrestling today unveiled a brand new championship belt design. At tonight's New Japan Strong Resurgence event in Long Beach, California, the first ever NJPW Strong Women's Champion will be crowned. A one-night tournament is scheduled to take place with Mercedes Moné set to battle Stephanie Vaquer, whilst Momo Kogo and Willow Nightingale will go one-on-one, with the two winners set to meet in the final with the title on the line. At tonight's press conference for the show, the belt design would be revealed to the public for the first time, with it being a purple-strapped version of the open weight and tag team titles of the brand. Elsewhere on the show, the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi will go head-to-head with Will Ospreay for a place in the IWGP United States Championship #1 Contenders Final, with the winner meeting Lance Archer at Dominion for a shot at Kenny Omega's title at the Forbidden Door event. Tonight's New Japan Strong Resurgence event is available through our Fight affiliate link in the description below if you fancy checking it out. On Wednesday, WWE's stock price would see a significant drop in value, with there being talk at the time that this could be linked to the announcement of AEW's new Saturday night show, Collision, with the drop starting at around the time the news was broke. However, according to Brandon Ross of Lightshed Partners, who provide insights to investors in media and tech, there is in fact another reason for the 8% drop. Ross would take to his podcast to reveal that WWE's value decline is linked to word that Fox are uninterested in renewing their deal for WWE SmackDown at the expected amount to retain the rights, and said, "This week there was a meeting. This is what triggered everything. There was a meeting that we got tons of calls from investors about, in which apparently the Endeavor team said Fox was not a good partner and they don't want to renew a deal with them, and that the 1.75x renewal that's out there is too high. That set off a complete panic. Stock was like tanking the day after." As for where SmackDown could end up following the upcoming broadcast renewal phase, Brandon would add, "And so now you have a situation where if Fox isn't willing to pay an increase on SmackDown, who is the bidder that is going to step in? And it isn't immediately obvious to the street who that bidder is. There are possibilities out there. Could Disney come in? It is a content fit for Disney. Disney is slashing costs right now. I don't think they really know what ESPN is going to be. Could NBCU move for one package and go back and take SmackDown as they have in the past? Sure. What's the price they're willing to pay? But the bottom line is, think about it. You need multiple bidders for any property in order to get any kind of increase or substantial increase." And next, All Elite Wrestling have filed for a brand new trademark that appears to suggest a logo change for the company moving forward. Ever since the promotion was founded, AEW have used a logo that sees their initials inside a rectangle box, with the words All Elite at the top and Wrestling at the bottom, with there being a distressed version and a smooth version of this. However, it looks like a more significant change could be set to happen, as the company have filed to trademark this much more simplified version of the logo, which only displays the initials of the company. This new version can be seen on graphics for the upcoming AEW Collision, and it's worth noting that companies usually seek to have consistent branding of their logo across the board, meaning we could be set to see this implemented company-wide. And before you go, make sure you check out how AEW can change wrestling forever.